Hello friends and welcome back for another episode of Indie Impressions. My name is Nick and today we're going to be checking out something called VoYD by developer NatPash. This is a minimalistic, procedurally generated action hack and slash game where we play as a character with a sword with very satisfying but simple combat, trying to make it from one level to the next as things get more and more difficult. Let's look at our about very quickly here before we jump right into the game. I have done a few runs of this. I have found it very good in general. Generally all positive things to say about this one. Love the soundtrack, love the presentation in general. Well, you'll see in just a second. So VoYD is played with the mouse and keyboard. These are the controls. You can play it almost entirely with just the mouse, to be honest. So we're going to move around by holding down right click, spacebar for a dash, left click for a light attack, and middle mouse for a heavy attack. I guess if you don't have a middle mouse, well, first of all, what are you doing? Second of all, I guess you can't really do a heavy attack. Maybe you can map that to something and pause on escape. Well, you can't map it through this, maybe using joy to key or something. So rules: clear all enemies from a level to continue, follow the compass to the next closest enemy, avoid touching corrupted level tiles. Levels become consistently more challenging as you progress. Death will reset you back to level 1, gain the highest score you can before dying. Pretty simple stuff there. Kill enemies quickly as they engage you for maximum points. On completion of a level, you gain a rating and bonus points based on your overall performance. A, B, C, D, F. Never gotten an F, actually, so I'm not sure what you need to do to get to that. I would assume you'd probably be dead before you get to the F. Avoid being hit or allowing enemy points to drop too far to gain a higher rating. Oh, enemies drop points. I didn't even notice that. I think I've just kind of like run right through them every time I kill them. So tips: keep the move button held as you attack or dash to stay in motion. Remain mobile and dodge attacks. Heavy attacks are powerful and long-range attacks but leave you open. You can perform fast attacks up to 3 times in short succession. So there's a little bit of a combo mechanic there, and be wary of how you take on large clusters of enemies. Alright, so that's pretty much everything we need to know. Let us do a run, shall we? So we're going to, again, use right-click to move around. As you can see, that little arrow will point us in the right direction of an enemy, and it will start to engage us as we get closer. Now we can kind of do a little bit of a dash, jump away if we like, but I think better off we could just go for a heavy attack. Did it actually hit me just then? It may have. So yeah, there's 3 remaining enemies. These are all of them. They're going to group back together, and we're going to try and hit as many as we can with one fell swoop. The heavy attack is a one-shot deal. If I can pull one off, this has been an awful start, first of all. Absolutely deserved worse than a C there, but it was generally merciful. And it looks like your hit points don't restore between levels, which is also kind of an important thing to note. So when I go in for a heavy attack like that, I've got to make sure that the spacing of the other characters is not such that they'll come in and basically just kill me while I'm trying to get that attack in, because I'm actually vulnerable for a little bit while I'm doing that. But we can take a moment here to appreciate this background, which does seem to be a little bit different every single time. Like I said, it's somewhat procedurally generated. You're going to get different groupings of enemies, you're going to get different groupings of tiles and different background art, or at least the circles will appear in slightly different positions every time, it looks like. But as far as procedural generation goes, I think that's about all there is as far as limiting factors. Well, as far as factors in general. I wish there were more factors, honestly. But I do love the aesthetic as it is, and I understand that it needs to be fairly consistent for this to come across the way it does. It's like a really lovely fusion between the visuals and the auditory component, and then the gameplay just happens to really complement the whole thing as well. So all in all, this feels like the basis for something really, really great. Leaves a little bit of blood behind every time, too. So you kind of notice that you've left a mark on the landscape for a moment or two, but it actually then just kind of fades back away. So these 3, if I can group them together, we can actually go for a single attack. There we go. Managed to get all 3 at once. So as we get further into the levels here, the main thing that's going to increase to make things more difficult is just that we'll get larger clusters of enemies, and we have to kind of find a way to deal with them more effectively, because it's gonna be kind of tricky to wrangle them all when they're all hopping around and doing their own dodges and things. Not sure why I didn't actually get hit there, but I'm glad for it. Okay, let's group them together. Should probably be doing a little bit more of this, kind of getting them into a pile and then hitting them with a heavy attack. I wonder, though, if this is like kind of, not cheating, but a little bit of a cheap way to approach the combat. I mean, as satisfying as the combat is, I almost feel like it may be a little shallow at the same time. I think the only thing that it really needs to kind of bring it up a level is some sort of a parry move, where if they parry you, then maybe you have to dodge roll out of the way, or you get, you know, counter-stabbed or something like that. Because right now it kind of all seems to come down to how can you line them up and then hit them with the heavy. I mean, what is your impetus really to do light attacks? I'm not really sure. I mean, you don't have that delay that happens with the other one, but at the same time, it's just like, you're kind of in the space of a lot of enemies for quite a while, and you're not going to kill them, so if they manage to recover before you're ready, well, you just set yourself up for a lot of issues. So it seems like the best way to approach combat is just do a heavy straight in, and then dodge back out, and then you'll seem to generally, you'll usually do fairly well with that technique. So that was a level 5 run. High score was 4,067. What was my... Oh, that was not my high score. This was 3128. My high score was 40. Okay, let's try that again. Let me see if I can approach this in a more economic way, I suppose. A little bit more of an efficient way based on some of the strategies that I've just outlined here. It's a very small grouping to start. I have to wonder, too, if you get far enough in... I can't believe I've already taken damage on that. If you get far enough in, will you approach some sort of other type of enemies? Because right now, these guys all kind of behave similarly. If you add, like, a wild card element, I think things could get pretty strange and, well, not necessarily confusing, but the strategy level could go down a little bit deeper. But there's also something to be said for the fact that, well, it's very ethereal and kind of light and breezy, and I think the combat kind of accents that as well. It kind of feels like it's all part of the same cohesive package. Let's see if I can just... Oh, see, they do dodge. It's just... Oh, wow. That was a terrible whiff on my part. They dodge just not always in a particularly useful way, and not always consistently either. So it's not like the AI is, like, always going to be vulnerable or not vulnerable at any particular point. I wonder what the chances are of that even happening. Also, why don't corrupted tiles hurt the enemies? You should be able to use it as sort of like a trap. And I don't know if this is just for effect or what, but every time I go for an attack, it seems like, or a heavy attack rather, when there's enemies around, it seems like the frame rate drops. It might just be one of those for impact, where it feels like you're hitting harder because the frame rate goes down a little bit, or it might just be because there's like a bunch of particle effects all being rendered. See, that time I don't think it did, so maybe it's not that. Maybe it's just a little bit of inconsistency. Let's dash about a little bit. Alright, got that guy at least. No, good dodge, good dodge. And let's go up here. See, the corrupted tiles don't really pose much of a danger to me because, well, why would I ever even be in range of them? There's so much free empty space, and it seems like the world goes on forever in every direction. There's really no reason to concern yourself with being near things that could hurt you. I mean, the same goes for the enemies, honestly. There's nothing keeping you in. So the only real strategy here seems to be just, like, run around, group them together, and then go nuts. So let's try that. Yep, that worked. Well, missed that guy. A little bit of inherent variability with that approach, I suppose. One more, and we got 8 more over here. So let's group these guys again. I think you can... Oh, you can totally change or chain dodges if you are in the mood to do so. Alright, so everybody stick together, and nobody dodged. Okay, 1 dodged. Got him. Now, 2 left. Really, really happy they put that little compass point in there. Without without having that, I think it would have been very frustrating looking around for these characters to fight. Rating D. Apparently did not do very well on that level. Okay, remaining 20. Is that... It's not drastically more than we had last time, is it? This may be the furthest I've made it in levels, so maybe, like, the AI starts to get harder at this point or something. Alright. Kind of doing a lot of warping about. I really like the controls, by the way, to this. And I know adding, like, a dodge might make the controls a little bit messed up. But it feels really nice, like, to do the middle mouse and have the slight bit of buffering before the heavy comes out. I don't know, it just feels perfect to me. I wonder, though, if you could do, like, a big push for the heavy and then, like, another little tap somehow on something to do a counter. That would feel really satisfying as well, with a little kind of like a chink kind of sound goes along with it. And it's a very visceral game, I suppose, so, I don't know. I also find it very easy to get back into, and I find it rather addictive as well. Perhaps because it's not particularly deep that you don't feel like you have to invest a ton of hours or, you know, particularly try all that hard to really put your mind to understanding how combat works, and maybe adding some of the things I mentioned might actually muddy that up a little bit, I'm not sure. But I wonder about the long-term prospects of this, but the short-term prospects feel good. So maybe this is more of like a popcorn game where you're meant to play it just for a few minutes and put it down. but maybe come back to it if you were feeling the way that everything kind of comes together on this. So I've got 1348 already on points. That's a decent start, I would say. We're going to do just one more run here. I just really want to see if I can get the logical conclusion. Oh, they really don't like when you kind of swoop around them like that. It seems to make them go a little weird. Good dodge. Oh, get out. Get out. Get out. But again, I don't see the impetus to want to use light attacks. It just seems like you're putting yourself in so much danger. As long as you've got the timing and the spacing right, the heavy is pretty safe. You just need to know your enemy well enough to know what to do. Okay, get over there. Group them together. Keep some distance. They don't seem to dodge around much as long as you keep a certain radius away from them. Okay, up and over. There's a lot grouped together here, but there's outliers. Oh, there we go. That worked pretty well. One more. Get out. Get out. Got him. Two more. Oh, both dodged. Good dodges, you guys. I love the color scheme. It's so pretty. And there's no trouble, like, recognizing what's going on either. Like, nothing really obfuscates what you're trying to do. Everything is just kind of in its right place. Artistically, just feels really well done. So we got 19. They're all going to kind of teleport my way. Kind of let them zoop over here. Yep. Oh, there's our first damage. We've made it pretty far, actually, without taking any. I think I'm taking such a long time. That's why I'm not getting drastically very many points. Oh, that was awful. I've taken a bunch of crap damage now. Is that all of those? Okay. Those little particles, too, when you vanquish your enemies, and, like, the little footsteps that leave behind. Really nice details that I think probably a lot of people wouldn't even notice, but the fact that they're there definitely oozes quality. And there we go. Yeah, that was an F rank. Pretty bad. We'll call that a frank. So now we've got 24. Maybe it's like the more have to teleport to you, the bigger the problem there is. Okay, there's the points. Somehow I don't even really notice the... Oh my god, I just ran into that stupid tile. I'm garbage. I still didn't even break my high score because I take so freaking long to play this. So that's probably not the best strategy for getting lots of points if you're interested in getting points in Void, which you should be because that's kind of the main point of the whole thing. Too bad this doesn't have an online leaderboard because, again, that's kind of one of those things that really drives things forward. If they just added in online leaderboard, some kind of unlock system or a little bit more variability to long-term prospects for play on this, you know, added some more... you know, music tracks, added a few more different enemy types, maybe even different character unlocks with different abilities or something like that. I could see this very much going down like an action hack-and-slash Risk of Rain kind of approach, and I could see this being a very popular game, actually. It's just light enough that I think it's very accessible, and also just deep enough that I think it's very addictive and compelling to come back to. So definitely one of the better ones I've run into in recent memories. Very interested in seeing what this developer has done for other work, and I'm glad I found it. So I hope you guys enjoy it as well. There's going to be a download link in the description, as there always is with every episode, and make sure you let me know what you think in the comments. I'd love to hear your comments about how you feel this game has come out, if you enjoy the concept of it, if you think there's anything you would do differently, and if you want, just feel free to leave your high scores in the comments as well, that we guys have a kind of a casual little competition there too. So if you enjoyed the episode, make sure you leave a like, helps me out a bunch. Make sure you come back again tomorrow. New episodes of Indie Impressions are, I always say every day, but now we've kind of gone into this new realm where maybe they're not going to be every day, but I'm not sure. Very likely it'll be back again tomorrow. If not, though, it won't be more than a day between at the very most, so there is that. I did go on a little bit of a hiatus. I mentioned that in the last episode, but that was just a temporary thing. There's no plans for discontinuing Indie Impressions for anything more than a day at a time in between each episode, so at least for the moment, and, well, I'll keep you updated if anything changes. So I look forward to bringing you more in the future. Hope you enjoyed the episode, and I look forward to seeing you back again very soon. Talk to y'all later.